All right, I am here with Ross Tomkins. Ross is an author, 20-year healthcare professional, and 10-time acquisition entrepreneur from the UK. He's the co-founder of AlphaGenics, which helps men regain their energy and vitality, particularly through testosterone replacement therapy. As a business mentor, he's also an advocate for the connection between spirituality and leadership. His latest venture is coming soon and is designed to help entrepreneurs worldwide to grow their wealth and or scale their business through acquiring $1 to $20 million businesses, in some cases without the need to put any personal money down. Full disclosure, both myself and the team behind Acquisition Aficionado magazine are working on this. Now, before the official launch, the best way to stay in touch about it is by following Ross on LinkedIn. You can find the link below this video. And if you're watching this after the launch, you'll also find info below. Ross, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Michael, great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. You and me are getting to know each other, but I'm just going to assume I know nothing about you, which is close to the truth because we still have recently just met. So can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are today, and what kicked it all off, especially with the context of the merger and acquisition field?
Yeah, sure. So I am the typical accidental business owner, I would say. So I started life as a physiotherapist, couldn't give enough time and attention within the health service in the UK. So I started my own business. I didn't ever intend to grow that. I just wanted to be the best physio that I could be at the time. And I think a lot of people start a business because they have a desire or a love to do something and don't really think about the future. It grew organically. So we grew that through word of mouth up to 33 members of staff. And in 2017, we were doing, almost 2 million in revenues. Life was good. And then we lost our biggest client. And our biggest client was a large portion of our income. Now, in hindsight, that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened because I had this free time and I had a desire to never be in that situation again, where we were so reliant on one company. And what that did, it opened up the door to look at acquisition as a route for growth. Because my plan at that moment was to diversify our offering, so we weren't so reliant on one client anymore. I sat down with our senior team, told them the plan. I think they all thought I was crazy. But over the last 3 years, we've acquired another 9 businesses, and a 10th one actually goes through tomorrow. So that's, very, very quick synopsis, I guess, of who I am, where I came from, and what we've done over the last few years.
Awesome. Well, something that sticks out to me when you say that is, if some people have a challenge in business and they're like, okay, well, maybe we need to find more clients, we need to find more sales, whatever. And I know for me is the case as well. When I heard about mergers and acquisitions, my initial gut instinct reaction to that is, I need to be driving around a Rolls Royce. I need to have a pinstripe suit on to even think about acquiring a business. So how did you come across that, and why did you realize that is the way forward for your business at the time?
Yeah, so I've always been into personal development. So, well before the world of the mergers and acquisitions came along, I was constantly learning. I was always going on new courses, challenging myself to learn personally, professionally, medically, and spiritually as well. Now, through all of those different programs, I guess I was just exposed to all the offshots of that. And as I was learning about marketing and finance and business processes, I think one day an M&A course just popped up on my computer that generated, some interest from myself, did a bit of research, went on my, first course to learn that back in 2017. And then subsequently have trained with, a lot of the coaches out there over the last 5 years to top up my knowledge.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I came across it in the same way. It's cool how those little moments can change everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that with the realization when you go, oh, hang on, you don't have to be, a Rolls Royce driving, pinstripe suit wearing middle-aged guy to do this. You can be anybody. and your business can be a one-man band, it can have that 2,000 people. It actually is a valid method for growth for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Then talk about that a little bit. Like, what are some ways that people can get involved in deals like this, or find deals, things like that, that, if they do have that mindset that you need to have a bunch of money in the bank to make something like this happen, what would you say to them so that they their perspective shifts like yours did?
So there's probably a couple of questions in there. I mean, one, how do you find deals? Well, you just have to open your eyes and have a different perspective. There'll be hundreds of people that you probably know in your life, wherever you buy your clothes from. Talk to the owner there, maybe they're looking to retire. There'll be people you interact with on a daily basis. You don't know whether they're ready to retire or throw in the towel. So as soon as you open yourself up, there are opportunities literally all over the place. I mean, I like take pictures of like vans that drive past me, or like signs of buildings, and I'm like, I need to research that. I wonder what they want to do in the future. So the opportunity is literally everywhere. In terms of, and as I did, I used to think you needed a huge pot of money to go and do this. Well, I guess there's two things you can think about. One was one of the very first points of view in one of the courses I did, which was, think of a merger. A merger is the bringing together of two companies when no money changes hands. So if you have two companies that are both doing, let's say, £10 each, you bring them together and it's doing £20, but the profit has gone up because all of a sudden you have one accountant, not two, one telephone system, not two, one marketing executive, not two. So you save a lot, and those synergies make both companies more profitable. So that was one sort of little moment where I thought, oh, hang on a minute. So you can grow your company and become more profitable by owning less of the shares. Like, that was super powerful. And then the other thing was just to use a house as an example. So people buy houses all the time. It's one of the things that, we all leave education, and probably one of a lot of people's plans is to own their own house at some point. If you find a house which is £50,000, you don't need £50,000 in the bank to buy it with, because a bank will typically give you a mortgage. So you might need 10% of that. You might need 5,000, and then you can put a mortgage on the rest. And the same exists within business. So there are lenders out there that will lend you money based on a profitable, solid business plan. Now, the slight nuance, which plays into our favor, is that you rarely put 100% of the money down on day one when you buy a business. Unlike when you buy a house, you have to give them 100% of the money for the house. In a business, you might give them 50%, 60%, 70% on day one, and the rest of that money is deferred. Now, in that instance, you need an even smaller deposit and then borrow the rest. So you actually don't need anywhere near this big pot of money that a lot of people often think to do an actual deal and bring a business on board.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That concept that they don't need everything all at once, that they can take the 50 and 60%.
Yeah.
Now, why is that? My guess right away is because you can use the profits of the business to somehow finance what goes on. But why is that?
Yeah, so future profits can help to pay that money down, but also one of the risks in buying a small business is that when the owner leaves, they take with them a lot of the clients, suppliers, IP, and the business value goes down. So actually, when you say to a seller, I'm really, really keen, I want to do a deal, but I don't want to pay everything on day one because I want to work with you over a period of time. So these new clients become our clients, and actually the business is going to grow. That generally works really well both ways, because they're invested, they're going to work with you, they're not just going to leave on day one. The business collapses and you're left having paid 100% of nothing. So it's quite a nice way to ensure that everybody still works together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is there any particular deal that you've done that you're comfortable sharing some details about how it started and how it got closed, and just to give an example, like a real world example?
Yeah, I mean, one of our first deals, which was a small physiotherapy practice, which we bolted into our existing physio business. I actually went to that one. I was introduced to the seller. They were a physio as well. Their health had been declining, and they were just looking for somebody to look after their patients in the same way they did, and someone that saw the world of health, in the same way. And we were right at the very start of our sort of acquisition journey, if you like. And this was actually the first deal, and we didn't have access to any money, but they were introduced to us. So I went along and had a conversation, and they said, "How much do you think it's worth?" And I said, "I think it's worth X." And they said, "Well, we thought it was worth a little bit more than that." And I said, "Well, we know our advisors have told us this is what."
No surprise there.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we've been told, and this is why. We've used a multiple of profit. And they go, "Okay." And they said, "Well, you're going to give us all your money on day one." And I said, "Actually, I haven't got any money, but I was planning on paying you back slowly over a period of time. And that gives you the ability to retire, because I know yourself and your partner, health isn't the best. And you have this guaranteed revenue over the next 3 years, where you have no pressure, you know exactly what money's going to come in every month." And they went, "That sounds amazing. It's perfect. We know our patients are going to be looked after by you and your team." So it was a win-win. So I don't think, that those deals don't come along every day, but it's an example, of what can happen.
Yeah, and it sounds like an example as well of somebody, which it seems to me to be more often the case than not, that the money is not the only part of the equation. It sounds like they also wanted to make sure that their patients were really taken care of because they cared a lot about them.
100%. Yeah. I mean, small businesses, owner managed businesses are often like a family. The person has brought that business on. It's their blood, their sweat, their tears. They know, their staff's dog's name. They've been on holiday maybe with some of their suppliers over the years. It is like a family. So it isn't always about the money. It is about whether you're going to keep the ethos the same, whether you are the right person, the safe pair of hands to take it over. Are you going to change the name? Are you going to sack their administrator who they've known for 25 years and their son's about to go to university? And it's a lot more complex and a lot more to do, I think, with the personal relationships. I mean, our domiciliary care vertical, where we've done 3 acquisitions within there, all 3 of those deals, certainly 2 of them, we weren't the highest bidder. And when that business went to market, however, they did see us as the safest pair of hands.
Yeah, it seems to me, especially because I know you mentioned earlier that a lot of times the motivation of the seller is that they want to retire. And it only makes sense that they're concerned about legacy at that point, because that's sort of what the next chapter of their life is about. Does that resonate at all?
Without a doubt, a lot of the time, these people, their business is in their hometown. So if you just come in and you make an absolute hash of it, they're still going to have to go to the pub or to the shop and look at these people in the face, and they don't want someone that's going to come in and sack everyone and change the name. They want to still hold their head high, and as you say, have that legacy where they're like, "Yep, I built XYZ Limited, and now it's great to see it going on to greater things." But kind of that was me, and that was me and my wife, or me and my great granddad. So yeah, I think legacy is super important, and in particular how people are treated.
Yeah, cool. Something that I was thinking about is, if we shift back over to from the entrepreneur's perspective, um, it seems to me like if you are going to look at acquiring a business that may have certain systems, staff, those things in place, that it just seems overwhelming, especially if you're like, you've got a very small operation, maybe you're a solopreneur or you've got a couple people on your team, and now you're looking to grow your business through an acquisition, and yet, the best opportunity you have, maybe there's a ton of staff, there's a lot of moving parts. Like, so how do you fight the feeling of overwhelm when you take on a new project or you're looking to acquire something?
So it's all about having the right team around you. I would say there are lots of deals out there. Not all of them will be right for everybody. So if you are a solopreneur, then the last thing you want to do is buy yourself a high pressure job. You want to actually be acquiring essentially a cash flowing asset. You want to be acquiring a business that's pretty much running itself in that situation. So what you need a great team in the business that you acquire who will do the day-to-day running, and then you can come in with the strategic oversight of the whole thing. In our situation, because we've been doing this a little while now, we've got a great senior team around me. So I can have the high level conversations, I can put together the deals, and then when we bring something on board, our senior team then bring that into the family, if you like. So we have our group MD, we have finance, we have marketing, and operations, all at like a group level. So I can do the deal, I can get it over the line, and then I literally pass it to them, and they have the policies, the procedures, the protocols, and the pathways in order to integrate it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It seems like, yeah, like you said, you don't want to take on another job, right? Because you don't want to come in and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm signing up for a lot more than I imagined here. I wanted to grow my wealth and increase my time freedom, and yet here I am now working in this business.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking at it as an investment, then you definitely don't want to buy a job. I guess the other way of thinking about that is if you were a sole trader or a solopreneur, if you just worked by yourself and you just wanted more clients to help your own business, you could go and buy a business that's bigger than yours, where the owner leaves and you just come in and take their place, and you actually are doing the same job but in a bigger business, and all of a sudden your client list has grown by a factor of 10.
Mm.
That's probably still valuable. You're going to be just as busy, if not busier, so it might not free your time up to go and buy another business. However, it's significantly grown probably your own personal wealth, as well as grown your business.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like, yeah, if you do grow the wealth in that way, and yet you still working the same, it may be a plus, but you're not necessarily approaching it like an investor would, right? Which is maybe seems like the key here.
Yeah, absolutely. But neither one of them is correct. Neither one of them is right or wrong. It depends on what's right for you at that time in your life. So if you are just looking to have a bigger business and you want to be that head person, that could be the perfect way to go. However, if you are looking to diversify, have more business interests, we own 5 different business verticals, as we call them. I personally don't have enough time to manage each one of them if I was the main person. But because
Right.
I'm looking at it from this 10,000 feet looking down on it, and then we have a great team that do the day-to-day, I can easily have a look at that information and manage to assimilate it and use it, but I couldn't run each one of them. That's quite different. And as you say, I think that comes down to having an investor mindset or a strategic mindset rather than a operational mindset.
Yeah. Okay, great. So tomorrow you got your tenth deal closing.
We do,
Uh,
and the 11th next week.
oh wow. Okay. Then I probably should have mentioned you got 11 coming under your belt.
Yeah,
So
and hopefully the 12th next month. It's a busy period.
cool. All right, we gotta update a lot of stuff then. Um, cool. So what about your own? Like you mentioned, like you may have different motivations or mindsets at different stages. So how has your sort of mindset evolved from like the first deal that you've done to now and kind of where you're headed?
Yeah, so initially, the first deal was a horizontal business acquisition. So what that means is we bought another business that does exactly the same as what we do. So we were a physio business, we acquired another physio business. So we were literally just trying to grow our initial physio offering. And I was still the main person there. I was the operator, I was the managing director. As that evolved and I sort of learned more about using this as a method for growth, we were able to then diversify into other healthcare arenas. And I've evolved over that time as well to really solely focus on what else can we implement and where else can we diversify. So I'm looking at things very much strategically now rather than operationally.
Yeah. Okay, great. And what about the future and your and sort of overall vision for everything? Because you're acquiring in the healthcare space, right? So what's sort of the vision you have for the future?
Yeah, so the vision is to continue growing this ecosystem of interdependent health businesses where each of them can support one another. We've seen over the last few years, pretty much anything that we think might happen probably does. We've had the financial crisis back in 2008, then in the UK, we've had Brexit, which affected business in all manner of different ways. Then we've had a pandemic and now we're in a new financial crisis. So the world is changing all the time and any business could be affected at any point. But if you have this diversified portfolio, our approach therefore is if one of them is affected, another one may well benefit. And indeed, during COVID, our physiotherapy, occupational health businesses all closed, but our medical supplies business was never busier. And this was a great example of, I think, of this diversified portfolio, or ecosystem, which is very much what we're aiming to do in the future.
Yeah. What do you do in a situation like that where one aspect of the business is suffering, another one is thriving? At what point do you say, or do you say, hey, maybe we should figure out an exit strategy for this business versus let's hang on to it and use the profits to support the other one? If I have that correctly, if that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we never got to the point where we thought we were going to have to close the doors. Fortunately, things did ease off with COVID in terms of the regulations, but I guess you just take each day as it comes, I guess, like that. With regard to an exit, I think one mistake that business owners often make is they don't think about that early enough. They just think, hey, yeah, I'm tired, I'm going to sell my business tomorrow. But most small businesses aren't optimized to sell. And what I mean by that, and this is we see this all the time, is most small businesses will spend a lot of their time being as efficient as possible with their profits because they want to keep their tax down. So their accountants have been working with them over many years to show smaller levels of profit, so they pay less tax. We see this all the time. When they come to sell the business, if they haven't been thinking about an exit and they just go, I want to sell it tomorrow, well, one of the key metrics we look at to value a business is the profit. So if they've been efficient, if we call it, with their tax and their profit over the years, they're therefore not going to get the value that they want when they want to sell it. We see this time and time again, and the business owner will say, yeah, but what we've done there is we've moved this around and we called this.
They whisper to you a little bit.
Yeah, we called this something else. So actually the profit is far more. And you go, okay, well, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have the best of both worlds. You didn't pay tax there. Well, you can't now sell it for this huge amount. Which is why I mentioned, optimizing your business for exit is you should always be doing that. You should always be thinking about the exit. And actually, you paying your appropriate amount of tax is always going to be better if you want to sell the company because you have higher levels of profit. Therefore, it's a far easier calculation. There's less discussion sort of around what have you called that and where have you hidden this? It's just very simple. Well, there's the profit. Perfect. We can see it's a great business. Well, let's multiply that by whatever to get to the value. Does that work? Yes. Okay, we've got a deal.
Cool. So maybe the quality of life or the benefit that the business throws off when you're being more efficient, as you put it, is a positive. But when it comes to exiting, the multiple is what suffers.
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, the multiple might be the same, but because the multiple of because it's a multiple of a lower number, the enterprise value or the value of the company is smaller.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Now, of course, again, one isn't right or wrong. You can have an amazing lifestyle business which gives you and your family an incredible life, and that tax efficiency works in your favor. That's not bad. I'm not saying people shouldn't do that. What I am saying, though, is that will affect the future value if you want to sell it. So as long as you're thinking about the future and you're thinking, well, I want to sell in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you can start making the necessary changes within the business. So when you are ready, then you sell it for the maximum amount possible.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's shift gears a little bit here. I know we're not talking about this, the specifics of what's going on behind the scenes just yet, but you're going to be bringing something exciting to the world of mergers and acquisitions, especially showing people what's possible in the space after you've got so much great experience yourself. Can you kind of share about how you see the world of mergers and acquisitions, the opportunity that exists for could be existing entrepreneurs or people who never even thought about having their own business in the first place and are starting from nothing and entering the space?
Yeah, it's a super exciting time to really look at mergers and acquisitions as a method for growth, because of how we've got this shifting of the generations. So most of the people that own small to medium-sized businesses are baby boomers. These people are now in their 60s, 70s. They're coming into retirement age. But a lot of the younger generations don't want to acquire a business. This is a sweeping generalization, but a lot of them want to be digital nomads. They want to live on a beach and have a computer in front of them and write blogs. As I say, that was a sweeping generalization, but it means there are millions of businesses over the next couple of years that are going to come for sale, and they're not going to have many people who want to buy them. So there is a huge opportunity actually to go out and make offers on these fantastic businesses. And there's so many what would probably be construed as unsexy businesses out there that are changing people's lives on a daily basis. You've got your local plumber, who could be a 2, 3, 5, 8 million pound business. A lot of younger people perhaps don't want to be a plumber, but that's a great business that can change someone's life. Imagine bolting 2 or 3 of those together. Or the HVAC company, or the logistics company. They might own 10 lorries, and they're driving around the UK that's generating X amount of profit every single month. These kind of unsexy businesses, they're everywhere when you start looking at things through an M&A mindset. Every interaction you have during the day, might have had 10 businesses touch it. And they're opportunities because, as I say, they're typically owned by 50, 60, 70-year-olds who very soon, if not now, are wanting to retire.
Would you say that is the biggest motivation that you see is the retirement motivation, and what other motivations exist for those sellers that we should be on the lookout for?
Retirement's definitely the big one. So I think there's a statistic, a bit of research that's been done to say the average age of someone looking to sell is 57. So, if you think about myself, I'm 45. If someone came to me and said, I want to buy a business, I'd say, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm still in my empire building phase. I want to keep growing. But if by the time someone gets to 57, apparently they're starting to think about, okay, what's next? What am I going to do in the next third of my life. So they start thinking about retirement. However, it could be a change in personal circumstances. Maybe they want to move to another country. Maybe they've got married and their wife's from another country, or the husband. Perhaps they're unwell, like the example I gave you earlier, and actually they just want to get rid of the business and focus on health for a while. There's a plethora of different reasons, I think, but asking the right questions and finding out what really motivates someone is super important.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. There's an obvious thing that makes this world exciting, which is the opportunity to grow wealth, and in some cases very quickly. Can't ignore that aspect of it. Can you talk about like the world of mergers and acquisitions and the certain advantages that it may have, and the type of people that may be more drawn to this than other types of ways of building wealth, like real estate, for example?
I think there's a surprising amount of overlap with real estate. A lot of the mechanisms are the same. It's a fair exchange of value. Money goes one way and asset comes the other. I think the difference in business is that you can often get a lot more cash flow from it. So a standard buy to let on one property, one deal isn't going to cash flow as much as perhaps buying one plumbing business that's doing millions of pounds. I guess the caveat to that would be if you buy a commercial property with 50 tenants, well, that of course is going to generate a lot of cash flow, but that's perhaps a bit more difficult to do. So I think it attracts similar people into both real estate and into business. And I can't remember the rest of the question, sorry.
No, yeah, it's just if some aspects of mergers and acquisitions that is attractive that people may not be thinking about in terms of a wealth building tool. Is there anything that comes to mind?
No, I mean, it is a fantastic tool for wealth generation. A lot of people, I think, it attracts people probably in the sort of get rich quick kind of field. It's not easy. You have to put the work in. You can't just make a couple of phone calls, do a deal, and then go to the Bahamas. Doing the negotiation, getting the deal over the line is probably the easy bit, because then you've got to onboard the business. So there's no getting around the fact that it is hard work. You have to put the time in. So it's not a get rich quick scheme. But if you're prepared to put in the work, learn about it, work with the right people, surround yourself with the right team, then it can be an incredible way to grow your business and your personal wealth. But it's not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else that you want to add that comes to mind?
Only that I'm super excited about the work that we're doing. We're working with Acquisition Aficionado magazine, and we've got something pretty exciting coming out in the very near future. So stay tuned. Have a look at your posts, Lens, over at the magazine, and myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then best way to find you online. I mean, I think LinkedIn is going to be one. Search your name for that. Anywhere else that people should follow you, whether it be for mergers and acquisitions or for your health side of things?
The health side of things, they can find us on YouTube, Alphagenics Limited, TDH Capital website, but LinkedIn is pretty much where most people contact me.
Okay, great. TDH Capital is tdhcapital.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
.co.uk.
.co.uk, right.
Yeah.
American way of thinking over here.
Exactly.
Awesome, Ross. Well, thanks for having the conversation, and I'm sure we'll have another one soon.
I look forward to it. It's been a pleasure. See you.
All right. Thanks.